Oh my heavens, you guys, listen to me tell you this. About every 10 years or so, they go and change all the health rules again. Today, this stuff is the culprit causing disease. Tomorrow, it turns into a lifesaver. Vitamin supplements get praised to the skies 1 minute, then the next they say they're completely unnecessary. Working out at the gym every day is the key to living long, then later they warn you not to overdo it or you'll get worn out. They argue up a storm. Books come out non-stop. TV shows run at full speed. And me, Harold Jenkins, I'm 102 years old this year, and I'm still sitting here laughing my head off. I've never once picked up a pen and paper to jot down any advice from any expert. Not a single one. Not one book. Not one diet restriction. I just lived the way my body told me to, and now here I am, still fit as a fiddle, still telling stories to you folks. Can you believe it? I didn't survive this long thanks to those thick books or any classes. They've got the degrees, they've got the studies. I've got the age, and only one of us is still sitting here talking. I grew up in a tiny little backwater town in Michigan, back in the 1930s. My family was dirt poor, no money for regular doctor visits. My mom and dad worked their fingers to the bone in the fields, growing vegetables, raising a few chickens. The meals on the table were whatever was there. Homemade bread, veggies from the backyard garden, the occasional piece of smoked pork. Nobody sat around counting calories. Nobody worried about any numbers at all. Eat till you're full, work hard, sleep deep. Simple as that. No experts butting in. Around my early 30s, I started working as a car mechanic at a little garage by the road. The job was tough, my hands covered in grease, but I loved the feeling of fixing those broken machines. I knew full well, if you ignored a little strange noise in the engine, you wouldn't notice right away. It would hum along quietly. Then one day the car would die in the middle of the road and everything would fall apart. That was the lesson I learned from real life, not from any books. I worked there for over 45 years. Every morning I'd get up early, drink a cup of strong black coffee, eat a hearty breakfast with whatever Betty, my wife, had fixed. No measuring, no tracking. I just listened to what my body was saying. Hungry, I ate. Tired, I rested. No fighting it, no punishing it. Meanwhile, all around me, people started getting panicked by flyers and new articles. Experts said carbs were the devil. Then later they told you to eat more of them. Exercise was supposed to be as regular as clockwork. Then they said, don't push yourself or you'll get stressed. I'd shake my head, stuff the flyer in my toolbox drawer, and forget all about it. My life kept rolling along. Cars kept running, bills kept getting paid. I didn't have a regular doctor until I was 79. Never owned a scale in my life. I figured, why worry about things that ain't broken yet? Then I met Sam Thompson. He worked right there in the garage, just a few feet away from me. We worked side by side for nearly 20 years. Sam was obsessed with health like crazy. He read every article, every new study that came out. When the experts said cut carbs, Sam cut them out cold turkey. He measured every portion, memorized his blood pressure numbers, tracked his sleep with a watch. Sam went for a walk every morning, rain or snow, tired or not. He was the most disciplined person I'd ever known. Sam would often say to me, his voice genuinely worried, Harold, with the way you eat, you won't make it to 65. At the time, I was sitting there eating a cheese sandwich, grinning from ear to ear. I didn't argue, just shrugged and kept eating. Sam looked at me like I was suicidal. He spent his whole life scared of numbers on paper, scared of food on his plate. I watched Sam change with every new wave of advice. One time it was vitamin supplements, next it was cutting salt. He went to the gym on schedule, measured his heart rate, worried about every little bite. Me, on the other hand, I ate when I was hungry, worked when I felt strong, rested when I was tired. We had friendly arguments, but deep down I could see Sam was tensing up. He was scared of dying, scared of getting sick, scared of everything the experts warned about. And me? I wasn't scared. I trusted my body knew how to balance itself. In the 1970s, the advice changed like crazy. Sam followed every step, his face all tense. I was still driving the parts truck, eating lunch at roadside diners, sleeping like a baby. My life was simple but solid. Sam kept getting skinnier and skinnier, worried all the time. Then one day, Sam passed away at 68. His heart just stopped beating. No warning. I stood there at the funeral, 63 years old, still strong, still eating normally. Good Lord, I thought right then, something's off here. Sam did everything by the book, followed every expert, and he still went early. And here I was, the rule breaker, still standing. I started paying more attention, not to what people were putting in their mouths, but to how they were living. A lot of folks around me were the same, counting every calorie, scared of every number, then suddenly dropping. I saw too many deaths like that. It wasn't the food. It was the quiet fear that had seeped in. Sam had lived 20 years in anxiety, never really relaxed. He tensed himself up with discipline until he burned out. I looked back at myself. I had my own little strange noises in life too. Those little signs of fatigue I ignored, the work stress that built up. Betty would say, "Harold, we need to get you checked out. You're not young anymore." I'd brush it off, joking, "What are you worried about? This old truck's still running fine." But deep down, I knew I was driving past little problems without fixing them. Not because I was lazy, but because I didn't want to declare war on my own body. The experts fix people who are already sick, and I just tried not to damage what was still working. That was the big difference. I'd never punished myself for craving a good meal, never forced myself to follow any rule that felt like torture. When everyone around me panicked over the latest trend, I'd think, my body's still working fine, why start a war? Stress started building up inside me as the 1980s rolled on. The advice kept changing. 1 minute heavy lifting, the next rest up. Sam was gone, but I saw other friends repeating the same mistake. They were scared, they tensed up, they tracked everything. Me, I kept fixing cars, driving, living my regular life. But those strange noises in my life were getting louder. The heavy work made my back ache dully, but I didn't stop. Betty worried more, reminding me every week. I started wondering if I was ignoring something important. Was Sam's fear supposed to be a lesson for me? Have you ever wondered why you let numbers on paper control your whole life? I never had. But the pressure from family and society started making me think seriously. By the time I was 82, Betty didn't ask anymore. She made the doctor's appointment, wrote the address on a piece of paper, and stuck it right on my driver's seat. That was it. I went reluctantly. The young doctor, about 40, looked at the test results, and his eyes widened. "Mr. Harold, these numbers, how did you do it?" I sat there in the thin paper gown, smirking. I gave him the short version about my meals, my work, about not tracking anything. The doctor asked if I took any supplements. Not one pill. He asked about exercise. I've done manual labor my whole life. I walk when I feel like it. He leaned forward and asked the question that really stopped me. "What exactly is your way of living?" That's when I realized I'd never fought my own body. Not once. The stress rose high when I got home and thought it over. The doctor said my numbers were like a 50-year-old's. But I knew the secret wasn't the food or the workouts. It was the way I didn't live in fear. No arguing with myself. Sam had argued for 20 years, and he lost. I won because I accepted it, but those strange noises in my life were still there. The family worries, the old memories that hadn't faded. I started feeling real pressure. Life seemed to be testing me harder. Every morning when I woke up, I'd wonder if I was ignoring something bigger than any diet. Were we fighting a pointless battle with our own bodies when the real problem was somewhere else? I felt stress at its peak, like the old car engine was making the loudest noise yet, and I had to decide whether to fix it or let it break. I told Betty about the checkup. She smiled, hugged me tight, but I knew the story wasn't over. In the years after that, I watched even more friends my age chasing the perfect lifestyle and still going early. They were scared, they calculated, they tensed up. Me, I kept driving the old truck, eating what I liked, fixing things only when they really broke, no wasting energy on pointless arguments. That was the lesson I wanted to share. Don't let the experts changing the rules control you. Listen to your body. Fix the weak spots that are really there. But back then, I didn't know the real climax was coming. When a young guy came knocking on my door, what would you think if one day everything you believed was right suddenly got flipped upside down? I'd lived through that, and it made me stronger. Life isn't a laboratory. It's rough roads, old engines, and decisions from the heart. I don't regret a thing. But my story still goes on, and those strange noises are getting louder. I'll tell you the rest later. That young reporter kid named Tommy, the son of my old neighbor who was the carpenter, he knocked on my door last month. He was holding a thick notebook, a recorder hanging there, his face serious, like he was about to interview the president. I opened the door, grinning wide, and invited him in to sit right in the old chair in the living room. What do you want to ask this old man about how he made it to 102? I asked right away, my voice a little hoarse from the strong coffee I'd had that morning. He nodded fast, turned on the recorder. Mr. Harold, what do you eat every day? How do you exercise? Any secrets? I told him, but not the way he expected. I talked about those hearty breakfasts with toasted bread, eggs, a little smoked meat, no counting calories, no worrying. I told him about fixing cars my whole life, walking when I felt like it, stopping when I was tired. He scribbled away, eyes wide. Then he asked deeper, do you worry about how much time you have left? What do you think when all the experts keep changing their advice every decade? I went quiet for a moment, looking out the window. Outside, the April sun in Michigan was shining down on the backyard, the leaves bright green. I thought about Sam, about Betty, about all the years I'd lived without fear. And right then the real climax hit. I felt like the old car engine was making the loudest noise of all, the strange noise I'd ignored for so many years. It wasn't the food, it wasn't the weight. It was the quiet fear that the whole world was tensing up against. I looked straight into Tommy's eyes and said, my voice shaking just a little, son, stop asking people like me for advice. Every 10 years there's some new expert saying the last one was dead wrong. They're right, then they're wrong. That's the rule. I've seen it for 102 years. Tommy laughed, thinking I was joking, but I was dead serious. I told him about Sam, about how he lived in fear for 20 years, counting every bite, measuring every step, then dropped dead suddenly at 68. Sam did everything by the book, and he still died early. And here I am, eating what I like, not following anybody, still sitting here telling stories. Have you ever wondered why you let numbers on paper control your whole life? Why fight with your own body when it's not broken yet? I paused, emotions surging. My heart was beating harder, like I was facing the biggest leak of my life. I realized the real leak in me wasn't the heavy work, wasn't old age, but the times I almost chased fear like Sam. I almost let Betty worry forever without getting checked sooner. I almost wasted energy arguing with myself. The climax came right then. Tommy asked the last question. "Mr. Harold, what would you tell people who want to live as long as you?" I stood up, walked over to the window, my hand shaking a little from old age. I turned back, my voice firm. Don't fight your body. Don't be scared of things that haven't happened yet. Fix what's broken when it's really broken. Don't spend your whole life breaking things that are still running fine. I don't know what a calorie is. I don't track cholesterol, but I know one thing. My body never betrayed me because I never punished it. When the experts said fat was the enemy, I looked at my own belly and thought, it's still working fine. Why start a war? That's the difference. Sam lived in fear his whole life, and I didn't. And now, son, do you know what the real leak is? It's not the food. It's not the exercise. It's the things you walk past every morning without fixing: the fear, the procrastination, the relationships where you never said, I love you, the dreams you forgot. I told Tommy a real story from the 1990s. Back then, I was about 75, fixing an old truck for a long-haul driver. The truck had been making a strange noise for a week, but he ignored it because he was busy with deliveries. One morning, the truck died in the middle of the highway, almost caused an accident. He cried and regretted it. I fixed it and told him, don't wait till the roof caves in before you fix the leak. That story made Tommy go quiet. I kept going, my voice full of emotion. Life is the same for me. There were times I felt tired for no reason, but it wasn't because of what I ate. It was because of old memories with my parents, the arguments with Betty that I hadn't apologized for yet. I fixed them, one by one. I didn't wait for an expert to point them out. I listened to my heart, not to books. Have you ever wondered, if you stopped being scared and started really living, how different your life would be? The stress rose to its highest point when I told him about the time Betty convinced me to go for that checkup at 82. The young doctor looked at the results, shaking his head. Mr. Harold, these numbers don't belong to an 82-year-old. How do you live? I laughed and told him everything. No vitamins, no gym, just manual labor my whole life and eating happily. The doctor asked, aren't you scared of anything? I answered, if I was scared, I'd have died a long time ago. Fear makes you tense up until you're worn out. Right then, I made the most important decision of my life. From now on, I would never let fear control me again. No matter what new advice came out, no matter what the books and papers screamed, I was still me. I didn't fight my body. I fixed the spots that were really broken, like my relationships with my grandkids, like the trips I'd put off because of work. Tommy finished writing, stood up. Before he left, he turned back. Are you worried about how much time you have left? I patted his shoulder, laughing loud. Son, I've been fixing broken cars for people since I was 16. I've never seen anyone worry about pipes that aren't leaking yet. I eat healthy in my own way. I walk lightly. And most important, I don't follow anybody's list. I stopped arguing with myself. Now go find your own leak. Fix it before it's too late. Tommy hugged me. That was the climax of my life. Not sickness, not old age, But the moment I said it all out loud, facing the hidden fear I'd almost carried with me, the consequences of that decision came right after. Betty heard me tell the story again. She laughed with tears in her eyes. "Harold, you finally said it all." We sat on the front porch, drinking iced tea, remembering the years. I started really changing. I called my son in California, apologized for old arguments, told jokes to my grandkids on video calls. I stopped ignoring those little strange noises in my heart anymore. Unexplained fatigue. I rested, didn't push myself. Old work stress. I let it go, spent time planting vegetables in the garden like when I was a kid. Life felt lighter than ever. Old friends called, asking for the secret. I told them, "Don't be scared, don't tense up, just live." In the years after that, I watched a lot of people repeat Sam's mistake. They chased new diets, feared new numbers, then burned out. Me, I stayed healthy, still drove the old truck around town, still joking with the neighbors. The biggest lesson I learned: the real problem isn't in the food or the weight. It's in how you treat yourself. Don't let the experts changing the rules make you confused. Listen to your body. Fix the weak spots that are really there. Maybe it's the fear. Maybe it's the unfinished dreams. Maybe it's the words you never said. Have you ever wondered, if you stopped arguing with yourself and started accepting, how different your life would be? That's the question I asked myself. And now I'm asking you. I don't regret a thing. At 102 years old, I'm still sitting here, still telling stories, still living fully. Not thanks to books, but thanks to real experience. I've seen too many people go because of fear, and I chose a different road. Life isn't a laboratory. It's a garage fixing cars, it's the rough roads of Michigan, it's happy meals with family. I hope you find your own leak too. Don't wait for the roof to cave in. Fix it today. And remember, don't fight your body. It's the best companion you've got. What do you think about Mr. Harold's story? Are you ignoring any leaks in your own life? Comment below and share your thoughts. Like if you found it helpful, and subscribe to hear more real-life stories from real people doing real things.